Hello students, now we come to the last part of our discussion on atomic structure, that is atomic structure part 3. Now let's have some idea about wave nature. Wave can be defined as a disturbance that propagates through the medium, usually with transference of energy, but without any permanent displacement of the particles of the medium. Various properties are associated with a wave, such as reflection, refraction, diffraction, interference, dispersion, etc. Some of these properties are exhibited by those objects also which exhibit particle nature. Diffraction is one such property which can be exhibited by an object only if it behaves like a wave. It cannot be shown by an object behaving like a particle. Now let us try to understand what exactly is diffraction. Let us take the example of a water tank. I'm sure you all must have seen this phenomenon. Suppose this is a water tank. Now if any disturbance or vibrations are produced at one end of the tank, we can see waves being formed in form of semicircles, like this. Now suppose we put an obstacle at some distance from the source of the waves and leave a small opening in it. For example, this is the obstacle and this is the opening we have left. Then we can obtain two results depending on the size of the opening. In case the size of the space is large as compared to the wavelength of the wave, for example, this is the opening and as compared to the wavelength of these waves, it is large enough, we will be able to see waves only in front of the opening beyond the obstacle. It seems as if the obstacle has cast a shadow. But in case if the size of the opening is comparable to the wavelength of the waves spread out from the opening even in front of the obstacle on the other side. This spreading out behavior of the waves is known as diffraction. Now diffraction cannot be explained if we imagine water to have particle-like properties. So we can conclude that diffraction is shown only when wave-like property is exhibited. Now let us see what is the nature of light. First we will discuss the particle nature of light. Newton believed that light is made up of tiny particles which he called corpuscles. Later, these corpuscles were termed as photons. Photomultipliers detect light by counting individual photons. So if light would not have been behaving like a particle, it wouldn't have been possible to detect light by a photodetector. So the working of a photodetector provides experimental evidence for the particle nature of light. Thomas Young performed the double-slit experiment to explain the wave nature of light. He used a coherent light source to illuminate a thin sheet in which two narrow parallel slits were cut. A screen was placed behind the sheet. An interference pattern of dark and light bands were observed on the screen, which can be explained only on assuming that the light behaved as a wave. The light waves passing through the two slits interfere. When the crest of one wave meets the trough of the other wave, the two cancel out, and destructive interference can be seen as the depression or the dark bands. But when the crest of one wave meets the crest of another wave, and trough of one wave meets trough of another wave, constructive interference takes place, which is observed as large bright bands on the screen. Thus, Young explained the wave nature of light through his experiment. Now, if the light would have behaved like it is composed of particles in the double-slit experiment, two distinct spots should have been observed opposite to the slits on the screen instead of an interference pattern. Thus, we can say that the double-slit experiment by Young established the wave nature of light. So you can see that the light behaves as if it has a split personality. At times it behaves like a wave and at times it behaves like a particle, as was observed in case of photomultipliers. As a matter of fact, it depends on the experimental conditions whether light will behave like a particle or a wave.